Guys, and welcome back to another geography lesson. Today we're going to look at section B and we're going to answer question 4. And question 4 consists of questions about settlement geography and economic geography. Let's get straight into it. Our first two questions are always usually short questions. Now if I look at our first section of short questions, is 4.1, and they ask to choose the correct words in the brackets, and it's regarding urban settlements and the problems that they experience on a daily basis. Now, traffic congestion is a characteristic of the rural-urban fringe or the CBD. Now, if you think of the rural-urban fringe, where is it? It's usually when you move from the urban area to the rural area, and that's on the outskirts. So traffic problems are massive usually in the CBD. The CBD is the Central Business District. If you take Johannesburg, for example, Braamfontein, Yeoville and Hillbrow, it's absolutely a nightmare, usually in the mornings and just between 5 and 6 o'clock in the afternoons. If we look at our next question, just on the right there, CBD, noise pollution is intensified in the light or heavy industrial zone. Now in this case, it's going to be the heavy industrial zone. That's the reason we find the heavy industrial zone on the outskirts of our residential areas and our urban areas, because they need to be close to major transport networks, and because of the amount of pollution and noise pollution they create, it's much better for them to be on the outskirts. Now this is, for instance, an oil refinery or a massive steel manufacturing company. The light industries, where do we find them? Usually in the transition zone, just around the CBD. So the correct answer over there is heavy. Another problem that we experience, overcrowding, is a result of urban growth or expansion. It's urban growth. It's the amount of people in the urban area. Urban expansion is the physical urban area growing. Now keep that in mind. Don't get confused between the two of them. So overcrowding is a result of urban growth. It's the amount of people that comes to the urban area to live and work in a city. So growth is the correct answer over there. 4.1.4, in South Africa, informal settlements are commonly found where? In the city centre or on the outskirts. Usually on the outskirts. The reason why we have so many informal settlements is because of the apartheid laws back then. Certain races were not allowed to be in neighbouring areas where white people used to live, and even the CBDs, they had to basically carry a pass with them back in pre-apartheid. But post-apartheid, the reason the informal settlements, because people were looking for jobs. Now, if you look at Johannesburg, for example, Soweto originated as an informal settlement. If you look at Soweto, it stands for Southwestern Townships, and Alex, and all of these places that we see around Johannesburg. So it's usually on the outskirts of cities, and that will be your correct answer. If we look at question 4.1.5, traffic congestion in large urban settlements may be solved by increasing what? One-way streets or traffic lights? Definitely one-way streets, because we want to make the traffic to flow. Traffic lights is stop, start, stop, start. So it's going to create more problems if there's too many traffic lights. So one-way streets will be a better solution to make congestion easier on urban settlements. Now, air pollution in the city may be reduced by developing what? Now, industrial parks, definitely not, because industrial parks is where manufacturing is taking place and processing takes place. Green belts is the areas where you go and relax. For instance, in Johannesburg, you go to Zoo Lake or in Marentia. It's a place that consists of a lot of trees and a lot of plants. Now, obviously, plants reduce pollution, the amount of carbon dioxide. So green belts is the correct answer over there. If you look at question 4.1.7, the increasing demand for services and infrastructure is the greatest where? With informal settlements. Informal settlements, we discussed it in the previous episode. If you look at it, it lacks basic needs and services. So what's the demand over there? They want clean drinking water. They want sewerage. They want better infrastructure like roads, proper housing. They don't want to live in shacks. So obviously, there's a big necessity for infrastructure and services in the informal settlement. If we look at our next set of short questions, and that's multiple choice, so you just need to choose the correct answer. Various options are provided. We need to choose the correct one. If we look at 4.2.1, mining is an extractive activity. There's an example of, okay, this is very easy. You've done this a couple of times from grade 10, 11, 12. It's a primary activity, so the correct answer is A. Which one of the following characteristics is a tertiary sector? Now, tertiary is providing a service. Forestry is a primary activity. Manufacturing is a secondary activity. Research is a quaternary activity. So a service that's being provided, transport of goods. So D will be your correct answer. (4.2.3), the overseas market where products are sold outside South Africa is known as the export market. So what do? We have a product over here and we go and sell it overseas. It's because we are exporting our product. For instance, in the Western Cape, what do? We farm with grape, we process the grape, turn it into wine. What do we do with our wine? We export it to European countries. An example of value-added product is maize, soya beans, or sunflower seeds. Now, if you look at maize, soya beans, and sunflower seeds, what do we use it? Maize is the end result of what's being farmed. Same with soya beans and sunflower seeds you actually use to plant the sunflower with. But because of the maize, what's the value-added product? The bread. It's been processed. So they've made a product from the raw material. So your correct answer will be C. (4.2.5), the Maputo Development Corridor links the industrial region with the harbour in Maputo. Now, what is the Maputo Development? It's an industrial development zone, IDZ. And what does it do? It basically is linked with the PWV. And the PWV is Pretoria Witwatersrandvereniging. It's basically Gauteng. The N4 travels from there all the way to Maputo, and it increases exports and imports, and it increases foreign income between the two countries and promote tourism. Now, if you look at question 4.2.6, the major manufacturing industry in Port Elizabeth, Uitenhage, is iron and steel production is the PWV, motor vehicle assembly. That's the correct answer over there, is number B. The canning of fish is in the Western Cape. Sugar refining is in the Durban Pinetown area. But your correct answers over there, motor vehicle assembly. For instance, VW and Mercedes is situated in this area over there. An industry that can be established where the modes of transport change is known as a bridge industry. Okay, use different forms of transport. Now the last question, 4.2.8, what promotes industrialization along major routes? We just look at the previous question. is SDI, Spatial Development Initiatives. For instance, next to the Maputo corridor, that's a very good example, as you can see, is number A. Now that's the short questions answered with the multiple choice. Now let's quickly go to the longer type of questions and your paragraph questions. Now if you look at figure 4.3 is based on urban expansion. It's the urban area actually getting bigger. Now we're talking about the physical buildings in residential areas. Now, as you can see, this is the urban area. A probably represents the CBD, and as you can see, all the roads that links to the CBD in the middle. But let's have a look at the questions that's being generated from here. Name two characteristics of the CBD A. So we identify that A is the CBD, the Central Business District. Now what's the characteristics of the CBD? Your tallest buildings, highest land values, and access to all transport networks. So what can we say? Its first characteristics, it's accessible. What I've mentioned as well, the highest buildings and the highest land values. Okay, and high volume of traffic. Let's just add it over there. Now if you look at our second question, 4.3.2, give a reason why the fastest growth is taking place along the main routes. Now if you quickly look at our main routes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And what they've mentioned over here, if you look at it, the fastest growth is taking place here, just on the outskirts of the CBD. Now, the reason why is because of it's accessibility. People don't want to be stuck in the CBD with congestion. So it's accessibility. It's easier to get in and out. It saves time and money because it costs money to sit in traffic, the congestion, more petrol. And if you look at it, we look at the previous question, the land value is most expensive over here. So if the companies decentralize and move their businesses over there, it's cheaper. So we can just say cheaper land or office rentals over there. Now if you look at the next question, 4.3.3, discuss two centrifugal forces that drives economic activities from the CBD towards the main roads. Now there's quite a few. Why do people don't want to be based in the CBD anymore? First of all, the congestion. If you look at Johannesburg CBD, it's an absolute nightmare to drive because there's so many taxis, so many cars on the roads. So congestion is probably the biggest negative impact on the CBD. And then a second reason is because how expensive the land is over there. How expensive it is to own a shop or a business or retail space over there. So because of the high land values, it's too expensive, so people want to decentralize. Another reason is because of overcrowding. There's too many people over there. And we can also mention competition. There might be already similar shops in the area that's similar to yours. And another problem that goes with congestion, I'm just going to add there, no parking space. And because of urban decay taking place. We've seen it in Johannesburg. There's still areas in Johannesburg that doesn't look very nicely. For instance, Hillbrow and Yeoville, and we can mention with the urban decay crime that exists in the area as well. So that's quite a few reasons that you can mention why people want to decentralize themselves from the CBD. If you look at our next question, why is the area of old buildings around the CBD referred to as the CBD, as the transition zone? Now the reason for it, it's undergoing change. What do people do with the areas? They renovate those buildings. Because of the urban expansion taking place, either they invest money in the building, make it nice again, or they demolish it. Because the actual land is worth more than the actual structure, infrastructure. And it's for future expansion. Of the CBD. Okay, so it can be any one of those. Now keep in mind, the transition zone, usually the land value is so high, they'd rather just completely demolish the area, the building that was there, and just build a new one because it's so expensive, the land in and around the CBD. Now suggest 2 reasons for the new urban development that will take place in Area B and on the outskirts of the city in the future. I just want to go back to Area B. As you can see, where do we find Area B? It's on the outskirts of the CBD. So it's actually on the outskirts of the transition zone as well, because this transition zone, and we know it's already expensive. So what can we say? If you just look at the question again, what can we do? 2 reasons for the new urban development that can take place, suggest 2 reasons. First of all, make the land value affordable. Okay, so it's not too expensive, so people can actually start their own businesses. Now, use the open space that is unused. Create a peaceful environment where it's not as hectic as the CBD, with the overcrowding taking place. And very important, afforestate. Bring in some green belts into the area, make it aesthetically better looking, pleasing, and create a rural atmosphere. Okay, so that's 2 suggestions that we can do on the outskirts of Area B. So it's a bit more attractive than all this concrete buildings, and afforestate where people can go and relax, to create a rural atmosphere where it's not this hectic, congested lifestyle. Now, if you look at question 4.4, it shows urban sprawl taking place from a settlement from 1980 to 2020. So we're not there over yet, but that's just their predictions over there. As you can see, it shows you street patterns over there. But if you look at 1980, look at the amount of settlements, the houses. The settlement has increased. Obviously, it's because of rural-urban migration. If you look over here, what they predict, what it's going to look like in 2020. And that's only in 3 years' time. So if you look at this, you can see there's an increase of urban sprawl and an increase of people moving to urban areas. Stay tuned. After the break, we're quickly going to look at the questions regarding figure 4.4.